Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie room. Now we're going to carry on with our series of videos covering the build of our new Beastie room, and we are now in day 4. So I'm hoping you're really enjoying the content at the moment, because it's just so nice to actually see this thing coming up, as you know, out of the ground, and slowly but surely developing into what we hope to be our best room ever. Now, so we're in day 4. You would have seen in the last video that we managed to get the last panel done for the back, and now today it's time to get the rest of them done, get them in place, and start moving forward in that direction. And once they're up, so we're going to literally go over, we're going to see what the guys have done. I will try and explain it as we go through, and try and cover most of it. We've had a few different comments. We will come to them after we've seen the video, and yeah, check this out. Hope you got a cup of tea ready. Sit back and enjoy. I'll see you soon. Well, here we go for day 4. Welcome back, guys. As you can see, it's another lovely day, and as you would have seen on the last video, the very last thing we done was we lifted up that back panel, which you can see on the floor now, and Tucker's just about to cut the last piece of ply to fit in on that right hand side. There you go. And so we had a very productive day, and they're just marking out now where the beams run through so that it can actually be screwed down permanently. So what they tend to do is make the frameworks up, and then as the boards go down, they literally just screw the outside edges of the boards to get them in place, get everything square and fixed. And then once they're happy with all of that, they'll then go through and do the final fixing, which is basically running through the center of the boards as well. And this is how we can end up using a fair amount of screws. Now, as you can see there now, Tucker's now laying out the framework for the front of the build. So what would effectively be the front panel. And as you can appreciate now, we actually get through quite a large amount of timber. Now, when you're building your frameworks like this, it's very important that your center supports and everything else are all lined up perfectly the same. And this is all done with the plasterboard and what have you in mind for later on, for when you do the internal, to make it all, you know, look nice and proper. So you'll see there that he, on the left hand side there, he's just popped that beam in. This is actually going to be done now to make the door, so we can get the right way for the door. Now, it really is surprising just how many screws we ended up using so far. I think we're up to around about 1,100 screws at the moment. So yeah, it takes a fair few. It really does. But then if you want the job done properly, you want them all fixed in permanently, that's what we need to do. Now there you go. You can see we jumped forward a little bit there. Got everything in. Tucker's now squaring up all of the beams, making sure they're exactly in the right place. And John's going to do the same on the other side. Mirror image them. And you can see there that Tucker's literally just measured the door frame. So the beam that they're putting in now is one side of the door. And then the next beam that they put in, to the right of where they are now, that will be the other side of the door, which is the one they're going in now. Now, one of the things that we went for a larger door. So this isn't a standard size door. We went for a larger door, which is what they call like a disabled door. So it's wide enough that you can actually get a wheelchair through it. And we done that mainly because of when we're moving tanks and things like that, enclosures and bits and pieces, it made sense to me to have a wider door, because over the years I've always ended up knocking my elbows or my knuckles, and I've even broken enclosures before now where I've caught the corners of them and things like that. So I thought, right, we need to address that situation. And so we went with the idea of putting in a much wider door. And hopefully that will solve that problem. You see now they're just measuring out, make sure everything is in place. Now you'll see there that you can see just on the left of where they've just put that board down, there is another beam in there, which is the edge of the door. And what they've done is they've measured these up, I believe, so that the boards will run true and the actual joint will be up by the other end rather than on the end of the building. So they're just bringing them all in now, placing them all, putting them all in place, making sure they're all fitting, making sure everything's still good. And they just put a couple of temporary fixes in just to hold the board in place. There you go, there's the last one, and as we said, that one fits in perfectly onto the end. And then they are now left with an offcut on the other side. So this one just needed the edge trimming off, only a small amount for that to actually fit in. And the reason we ended up, many of you might say, well, why didn't you just start at the other end and put a full board in? Well, the reason being is because, as we said earlier on, all of our uprights are measured at a set distance. And as soon as we put the larger door in, that affects the distances between our beams going on. And so now we're cutting the piece to fit on the other end. And that's because our beams, at one point or another, although we measure them all the same, there will become a point in there, whether it be on the end or at a joint, where we will have two beams much closer together, and that is what we're covering up now. You can't get away from it because you're not, the whole length of that frame is not an equal measurement for our beams. So there will always be a point, and normally that point will be on the end of the building. But because we put the door in, we've also measured our door 600 away from the outside edge. And we've done this because I didn't want the door right on the end. I wanted it offset slightly, so that as we walk in the door, on the left hand side, it will be deep enough for me to run enclosures down that wall. Otherwise, we would have ended up losing 3 or 4 feet of wall before I could start putting enclosures in because of the door. So this is why we've done it the way we've done it. Now, as you can see there now, Tucker is painting the base of the framework in blackjack, as we spoke about this before. This is to help stop any moisture being rising up through the timbers. And so we literally do the back of it, do the base, and then we can see where we're going then. And this just gives it an added little bit of protection. You can also see that he's also done the base of the floor as well. And you can see it much more evident there. So that is almost like a damp proof course really. And that will help keeping any of the moisture that's likely to rise up on the outside. It will help to disperse it and get rid of it. Stop it climbing up into the wood. Now then, as you can see now, we've actually jumped forward a little bit because frame building is pretty much the same all the way through. So what we've done is we've jumped through now so that you can see the sides, well, that end has been done. The front is actually fixed up at the moment, sort of temporarily. The back is done and leaning up against the fence. We done that the other day, you remember. And what they're doing now is they're now setting in the framework to make up the other end. Now obviously with these there is a sloping roof on this build, so it's obviously higher at the front than it is at the back, so that needs to be taken into account. You're now fixing in the runners, and you remember we said they're all actually a set amount apart. Can't remember now whether it's 400 or 500 mil centres to them, and they're all going into place now, so they're all being marked up, cut, they're in. So as you can see, the framework is relatively easy. Where the strength of the framework comes in is actually in your cuts. So if your cuts are nice and square and actually of the right measurement, it's very important to get the right measurement. If you cut slightly short and you screw it in, you've now affected that main long beam that you're attaching it to, and this is how you end up with sides that are not true, and they won't be square. So it's very important that your cuts are proper and they actually fit in nice and snug and do the job properly. So that's it, we're now fixed up through there. They're just checking out, making sure everything is right. Time to get the boards. There we go. Yeah, Tucker having a bit of a thinking moment there, deciding on which end he wants to start. Nope, we're going to go with this end. What is it they say? Think twice, cut once. That's it, we're getting them all fixed in. Here comes the next one. As you can see on the sides, it doesn't take long to actually fill them up, get them all into place. You can see there's an overlap there on the left. This will be trimmed off. And again, it's one of them things people often say, you know, why didn't you cut it before you put it on? It's far easier to cut it once it's on. You can get an absolute perfect measurement and just follow your beam along, and you know, it's nice and easy. And it also makes sure that we don't have any gaps and any mucking around. You only got to be slightly off with your measurement, and your board could be slightly over, slightly under. By doing it this way, we get a nice clean edge. These guys have been doing this for a long time. They've, you know, Tucker's been out on his own now for a number of years, and he's done many projects. And one of the things that they do, as you would have seen on their t-shirts and stuff, is porcelain driveways. So they really are very rounded in what they do, whether it be bricklaying, paving, anything, you name it, pretty much outside, these boys can actually achieve. So if you want any work done and you're in the area, really I would highly recommend giving these guys a shout. And they're also very competitive as well, which is the main thing. So there you go, we're painted on the blackjack again. That's all done. Now we're putting in our moisture membrane, our breathable membrane. Now, it was interesting actually that someone was commented in the last video that our membrane here wasn't taped, and there is no reason to tape this membrane. And this purely, if you think about it, this membrane is to allow the timber to breathe. So we don't actually want to seal it in. You know, it's there to allow it to breathe. So we don't need to tape the joins. There is no need for that. So all we need to do is tack it on like we're doing now. So it's literally just stapled on to stop it flapping around, and that keeps it nice and secure, nice and tight. And then all we do is just trim it off. Now when we come to put our outside cladding on, that will go directly onto this. The cladding is built in such a way that it doesn't actually, it will drain completely over, and the cladding itself is pretty much a watertight system as well. So we don't have to worry about water ingress with it. All we need to worry about is allowing the whole thing to be able to breathe. And then if it breathes, that stops it from sweating. Now we just popped in to give the boys a hand. These panels are incredibly heavy, and they take a little bit of mucking around just to get them into place. So an extra pair of hands is often useful. So now we're going to get the other side in. So we've fixed one side. This side now, as you can see, is missing the panel on the end. So we just need to attach that, and then also put our breathable membrane on it as well. You see Henry there, he's out getting use. Notice John there, he's quite adept at the hoover. I know that will be a big thumbs up for all the ladies watching. Like a man who can use a hoover. He did ask us to take that little section out so that the wife didn't realise that he could actually use a hoover. This might just get him in trouble at home. He won't be able to get out of it now at home. You see, he's quite good at it. Quite good at it. Very good actually. He sorted that. Yeah, there he goes. It's almost like he's found a new toy. Look at that. He's flying along, loving life. So there we go. There's our breathable membrane down, and another panel on the way. You can see the importance of tacking it all down securely. You notice just get a little bit of a breeze. It's only very lightweight stuff, but it does a really cool job. And it stops the building from sweating, which is the whole point. That is what it's there for. It's not actually there as a watertight membrane. It is there, as its name suggests, breathable. It allows the wood to breathe. Right, so that's that bit there. And as you can see there, we've not actually put the end panel in. And I think that was for design, so that they could actually manipulate it and get it in place, and that panel will be put in afterwards. There is a little walkway all the way around, so we can gain access all the way around the building to keep it trimmed. This was another comment that was made, you know, how do we stop the trees and everything from growing up around our building? And it's quite simply, we have got a access all the way around the building. All these things are thought of. This build has been thought out, and tried to cover absolutely every eventuality. And also as well, because I've been in this game a long time now, and over the years I've had to make do with different projects, like we've done sheds, we've done garages, we've done all sorts of things, and they've all come with their problems that we've had to try and overcome. And doing this build gave us the opportunity that we could actually do something from scratch, which meant that we could try and cover and alleviate some of these problems. So there's been an awful lot of thought gone into this actual project, and this really is, this project has been in the making for the past 40 years. You know, I've always wanted to do this, and I've never been in a position where I could actually do it. But now, as often happens, as you get a bit later on in life, you know, and you get a little bit of savings up behind you, work ends up being better, you know, you end up being better paid at work. All these different things have made this possible, that we've actually been able to do this project, and we are very lucky to be able to do it. It's yeah, it's been hard earned, let's say that. So now we're putting the breathable membrane on the front. The other sides have been done, so we are almost there for this stage of the game, and you can really now see how the whole thing is starting to evolve and everything else, and it's really coming together. And as we said on the video, this is day 4, so you know, the boys have not been hanging around, and it's impressive how quick they've actually managed to get on and do this. It's been really cool. We've been blessed with decent weather as well, so that's helped. And also just getting things in place at the right time. You know, we had most of the stuff delivered on day 1 when we were putting the block work in and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, Tucker's done a fine job of planning this and getting everything to roll on nice and seamlessly, which is one of the big issues with many builds. It's just getting things in place at the right time. So there we go. This is all going up. You can see how it's nice. It goes up nice and easy, this stuff, but it's so important in what it does. Very good. Right, here we go. Banging up the last bit. I thought we were going slow on that last bit. I think we didn't go in fast forward there. I think we went in normal time. So here we go. We're back on the flying along mode, and this is it. So this was it for day 4. Everything is now covered in our breathable membrane, and we're there. Going to get the last little bit on the other side of the door. You notice that wide door that we were talking about. So we are almost there. Looking forward to day 5 when we should start putting the roof joists in and hopefully get the roof up. I do so hope you're enjoying this. It's absolutely incredible to watch. Well then, I hope I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I just love watching this stuff all come together. It's just so exciting. It really is exciting. Now you would have seen there how they build the side panels and how they're constructed and put together. And it's important you'll notice there that Tucker is always measuring. He's constantly measuring, and you'll see him measure something and then he'll go back and he'll measure it again, and then you might even measure it again. You know, he's constantly checking his measures all the time, and this is to make sure that everything that goes up is nice and true and square. Very important that when, even if you make a framework and it's exactly the right measurements, when you put it together it can twist slightly. And when you put your boards down, one of the things, any of you guys that are in the construction industry will vouch for this, that the boards, although they're cut to a certain size, many of them aren't entirely square. So you can't rely on the board to give you a square, which is often a common mistake. People put the boards down, they put their edges in, and then when they get to the end, they're like, well, why is it half an inch thinner this end than it is at the other end? And that is purely down to the boards not being cut square at manufacture. So it's all them little different bits. So Tucker's constantly measuring it all the time. They've been doing this for a long time. You know, Tucker's been around for a few years now, and as we said in the video, they cover all aspects of outside construction. So you know, they do everything from driveways to patios to buildings, pergolas, you name it. If there's something you want doing, these guys can turn their hand to it. And I will vouch for them 100%. They've done an absolutely sterling job so far. Very pleased. we're looking at day 4 now. So this has been day 4, and as you can see how far we've come on in 4 days. It's an absolute testament to their work ethic. They really have pulled out all the stops. Now on this day, day 4, it was incredibly hot. We hit out here 34 degrees. So it was very, very warm, and they didn't stop all day. You know, they cracked it out. So fair play to them. Done an amazing job. Now then, you would have seen there that we put the breathable membrane down on the panels, and as that actually the name in it suggests, it's breathable. So what that means is it covers the wood, but it allows the wood to breathe, but it will stop it from, it's like got like a one-way barrier, so it allows it to breathe, but it won't absorb back in the other way. And one of the comments we had was, oh, you didn't tape up the joins. Well, it's a purpose thing. We didn't tape the joins up because they don't need to be taped up. We're not looking at sealing it. It's not a complete waterproof barrier. The whole point is that is there to stop moisture coming in, but it allows it to breathe it out. So there is no need. We could have taped it, wouldn't make any difference, but you're not actually achieving anything by taping it, and that is why it wasn't done. What else did we do? You also saw there as well that we blackjacked all of the bases again, and that is so that moisture won't rise up through the timber and rot the timber out over time. Although all the timber is tannalized, apart from the boards, they have a very, very low content, so they're not actually, they're more glue, to be fair, because they're like a man-made board. But all of your timbers, the 2x2s, the 2x4s and 6s, they are all tannalized. But that being said, we still give it extra protection by painting it all in the blackjack, and that stops moisture rising up through the timber and rotting it out. So it gives it a greater lifespan. So that is what that is all about. What else was there? And you would have seen there as well, we actually mentioned in the video about the cuts. When we put the framework together, they have like, I must check this out, but they're 400 or 500 mil centers between all of the upright beams. And this is so that when we go to put the plasterboard on, we know exactly where we are. It's also, we set them out at that rate as well, so that when I do my racking inside, we got a nice set distance between my uprights, which will hold my shelves. So the weight of the whole wall will be dispersed evenly throughout the whole thing, because obviously these enclosures, they do get heavy, and the bigger the enclosure, the heavier they are, and we have got plans to have some quite large enclosures. So we need to be, to assure that we can actually, the wall will actually hold this sort of weight. So that's what we've done there. So all of these measurements, everything is measured from the very, very beginning right the way through to make the next job easier. And this is how this construction process has carried on. So, right, I hope you really enjoyed that. We're going to be moving on with day 5, and we're hoping to get the roof on. And that is a very, very interesting aspect, the roof, to this particular build. And we will go in and explain that properly on the next video, when we will be doing all the roof and insulating the roof as well. So can't wait to do that. That's all going to happen on day 5. Right then, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. I'll see you soon, guys.